All right, guys, we're back here today working on the 2004 Kawasaki Concours, cheap bike for cheap ride, sport touring bike. Um, so what we're going to do today is we're going to continue the maintenance on it, and we're going to do the final drive. And the drive shaft that goes through has the joint on it that needs to be lubricated, and it's recommended to be done at 18,000 miles. This one has 19,000 on it, and I don't know if it's ever been done. And from the way the other maintenance items I've seen, I don't think it has been done. So we're going to get this bike up on the center stand, get the rear tire off, get the cases off, and we're going to see what it entails to one, we're going to change the oil in the final drive, but we're also going to remove the final drive unit and see if we can get that axle, how that comes out. Well, we've got the book for reference. So I think it's going to be a bigger job. So let's get started on it. All right, guys, here's where we're at. I've got the bike up on the center stand. And what I like to do when I have a bike on the lift on the center stand is run a strap around the center stand to the front wheel. That way, hopefully, it doesn't get knocked off the center stand accidentally. All right, so now we got the back wheel up in the air. So I'm going to look into removing this back wheel. I've never removed this back wheel. You can see the rotor's all rusty there. But anyhow, I'm going to remove the back wheel so we can start breaking things down here to get the final drive out and see what all it takes to get that all lubed up. So got it up in the air. We're going to probably remove the brake stuff first and then remove the rear wheel. And I'm going to also, before I start any of that, I'm going to drain the final drive, get the fluid out of it. So if it does happen to flip on its side or something when it's off, we won't have a huge mess through the breather and all that fun stuff. So that's what I'm going to do first, is drain that. All right, guys, I'm going to catch you up where I'm at and what I've done so far. Drain the rear fluid. I went ahead and took the fill out also. I wanted to make sure, one, that the fill would come out. So I went ahead and did that. I broke the axle loose. I took the pin and the nut off. So that's coming out. But in turn, I'm going to have to remove this exhaust because then the bolt hits it. And so this muffler is going to have to come off. So that's what I'm working on now. I went ahead and just broke this bolt up here loose, and the one down here that should hold the muffler on. So hopefully we can just wiggle the muffler off and get it out of the way and get that axle out of there. So that's where I'm at right now. I just wanted to catch you up, and we're going to be moving on. All right, so I went ahead and disconnected the brake caliper. So it's sitting up here for now. Went ahead and took the wheel off. The wheel is just kind of sitting in there because it's got this big old fender here that kind of keeps you from pulling the wheel straight on out. So I'm just going to leave it sit here for a minute. I did look at the bearings, and it looks like the bearings are good. So that's a good thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead. I finished draining this, so it's all drained. And so now we're going to take the 4 bolts off here that hold the final drive on, and we should be able to just pull the final drive out of the way, then the wheel will come off. So that's where we are at right now. So, okay, I do like how Kawasaki did this. The final drive came right out. Hopefully you can see it all right. It's kind of dark in this corner. But the drive came right out. I loosened the bolts up, and it slid right out. So that was nice. All right, I will warn you, this is a big job. It looks like maybe it's bigger. Maybe I'm making it a bigger job than what it actually is. But to get this rear swing arm out, you have to remove the shock. You have to remove these covers right here where I think there's other bolts behind this that come out. You have to remove the control here for your shock absorber, and then you have to remove it here. There's a little nut in here. I don't know if you can see it. Let me see if I can shine in there. There's a little nut. You have to remove that arm right here. Then loosen that bolt. And then we got to take out some shock bolts and stuff down here underneath. So that's a big job. And I also went ahead and I just bent these little tabs back here and got the rear brake disconnected and just sitting up here. It says to remove the muffler on this side, but I think we can get around it. I think I'm going to leave it for now unless there's something that comes up that I have to remove it. See how I remove this adjusting arm here, and then we will loosen the top shock nut. It says don't take it out, it says just loosen it, and then we'll remove the stuff on the bottom, and I'll show you that. All right, I remove the little air valve here and the adjuster. Now the adjuster is like a 7mm little wrench to fit in there and loosen that up, and then you can pull the handle off, well, unscrew the handle off, and then you can rotate this around and get this off. So we have that stuff off there. That bolt, the top shock bolt, is loose. I removed the bottom shock bolt. So now we have to get this bolt here loose. Now, both of them sit in this kind of cutout thing, so you can't get a wrench on it. You have to use two sockets. So that's the next thing we're going to take off. Although to me, it seems like it'd be easier to take it off up here, but I guess if we take it off down there, it takes both of them off. Whatever. So we're going to take that. So we have both of these bolts out. Hopefully you can see them okay. I got a flashlight shining on them. This is where this is held the shock. And this was for these two shafts that come down and go right there. So those are now removed. So we should be able to drop the shock. Should be the next thing. So I'm going to go check the book, make sure, but I'm pretty sure the next one is to drop the shock down. All right, guys. So that was the next thing, is just to take out the top shock bolt and drop the shock on down. So I'm going to put that over here with this huge mountain of parts that I'm gathering that's coming off this bike. So now we're going to look in. I think we have to pull these caps off. Looks like Phillips screws to take them off. So we'll take those off, and then, all right, this is what we have on both sides. I went ahead and took these Allens loose. They're 6mm Allens. There's 3 on each side. Now, okay, I figured out what the book meant. The book showed you putting a screw in here. Now, I thought it meant you put a screw in here to push out the shaft somehow. I didn't know what they meant. But I went back and looked at it. I'm like, well, that moved when I wiggled the swing arm up and down. And so what it's just saying is to put a screw on there to pull on the screw to get that out. What I did was it just moved up and down a little bit. So I just got right in this section here with a little pry bar, just got a little space and just easily pulled it out. Don't go prying on it hard where you bend anything. Just real easy. And so now this rear end should come off. So let's see what happens. See if I can leave you on here and see if I can find a way. I hope you're in the frame there. Maybe that's better. Let's see. Let's get it up. There it goes. And there we go. We've got a nice, beautiful drive shaft. So it's a lot of work to get to this drive shaft, but if you only have to do it every 9,000 miles, 9,000 miles, I think it was, not too bad. So I've got that off. I don't know why my Insta360 keeps wanting to shut off on me, but got the drive shaft out. So I'm going to check it out, see what we have to do to lube up, Guess you can see it up there. Over here. Move up the U-joints, basically is what it is. So we'll take a look at that. Be right back. All right, guys. So this is the reason I wanted to pull the drive shaft or the swing arm off, to get through these swing arm bearings. And these are still, all the bearings feel good on them, but I wanted to repack those. And so I'm going to take these out, clean them really good. I'm either going to use some kerosene or something like that and get all the grease off of them. I'm going to clean out the little races where they sit. These bearings look good. They still had grease on them. So I'm going to clean them up and then we'll re-grease them and put them back in. The seals look good too. So no sense in replacing those. We're just going to clean them real good and hopefully they'll be good for a very long time. All right, guys, so I went through, cleaned the bearings really good. I cleaned the race out really good. Cleaned the seal off really good. So now what I'm going to do is repack the bearings. I already did the right side, so I'm going to do the left side now. See if I can put you in a spot. And how I do it is just get a big old clump of grease. I like the Del, I think it's called Del Rey. It's a waterproof grease, like a marina type grease, but it's really, I like it. Seems like it's worked really well for me over the last few years, so I keep using it. And just pack your bearings full of grease again after cleaning them really good. Use whatever cleaner you like to use and what's legal in your state to use. I cleaned mine really good with a substance, and then I cleaned it really good with brake clean afterwards, just to blast everything out. And then I sprayed it down or blew it down with air just to get everything out of it, all the water and everything. All right, so once you get it packed through where it's coming out the other side, you're ready to go. And I'm going to go ahead and install this. I can't show you obviously because my hands are covered in grease. So I'm going to stick this in the other side, get the seal on, and get ready to put this back together. All right, so I've got the seal in. So what I'm going to do next, is clean the pins and get ready to put the swing arm back on after I get some clean gloves. All right, so I torqued the 3 bolts that are behind this, the Allen bolts, to 16.5 foot-pounds. Put on the side cover, did that on both sides. I wanted to show you this. This thing moves so much better. I was really surprised because the bearings didn't look that bad, but after I started cleaning them, they did kind of feel dirty. And yeah, this thing just seems to move a lot better. One thing I wanted to tell you too, I don't know if you can see it up here, right here, there's a little boot that has to go over the swing arm. It's to keep water out of it. So make sure that boot goes on all the way around. And so next, I guess we're back to putting the suspension back together. We're going to put the shock on next and get ready to put that back together. All right, I have the shock on. That's torqued down. I think that was 29 foot-pounds. And then got the lower ones torqued down to 43 foot-pounds. So getting everything put back on, we're going to, we have to put the little adjuster thing back on. And then the rest of the back, we need to clean this out. And we're going to pack that with some grease. And we're coming along. So then we'll have to put the rear tire up in there, and then put the final drive on so we can put the tire back on, but we're going to lube all that stuff up. So we'll get to that. All right, so now that we got the shock back in, we're going to put in the adjuster back in it. We're going to put the this doohickey, the air bleeder back in, the air line, and the bracket, and get ready to move on to putting the foot pegs and things back on. And so that's going to be the next thing we do here. All right, guys, so we're getting ready to put the final drive back on. And I just went through, I don't know if you can see here real close, cleaned all these teeth really good. And actually, I'm going to clean back there a little bit better. I want to get kind of all the grease out of here because I'm going to repack it with grease before putting it back together. But I just wanted to look at all the teeth. Teeth looked good. Make sure your spring is on here. This one stuck on there pretty good, so I just left it. But one thing I was kind of concerned about is how dry this part of the gear is. It doesn't look like there's much on it, but what I'm going to use on this part of the drive is the, I think it's pronounced Starburgos lubricant. This is a real thick kind of greasy paste that BMW uses on their axles and things, their final drive system, and it seems to work really well, and it really sticks to the material but still gives it a good lubricant. So I'm going to clean this outer part of the seal off, make sure everything's good and clean. All right, guys, so I had the final drive back on. I forgot to take a picture or take a video of the teeth over here after I put the Starburgos, I can never pronounce that right, grease on it. But I did it. I shoved a lot of grease inside of this drive shaft assembly. And now I put all 4 of the nuts on, and we're going to torque those down to 22 foot-pounds. So I'm going to do that next and then get ready to put the wheel on. Make sure you put this little cap back on there, and then the axle goes through, and then we'll torque that axle down as well, and then we'll make sure we add our gear fluid. We don't want to forget that. So our gear oil. So I'm going to torque these bolts down first, 22 foot-pounds, and then put the axle on and torque those bolts down as well. All right, guys, so we got the brake caliper back on. We got the rear axle back in it. We torqued it down to 80 foot-pounds. So that's back in. We got the muffler put on, and to add the oil in the rear differential, the final drive. So we're going to put the muffler on next, put the final drive on, or oil in, and that should be about it. So all right, guys, getting ready to put the rear muffler on, but I don't know if you can see in this video, but I could not stand to put the rear muffler on looking like this. Here's what it looks like with just hitting it with a little steel wool. I'm going to hit this muffler with some steel wool before I put it on. I know I'll probably have to be taking it off again, but might as well go ahead and do it now. And I want to see how good it'll come out and just try to knock this surface rust off of it. And so I'm just going to hit it with some double-aught steel wool, and then I'll show you what it looks like when we're done. All right, guys, so here's what we're left with after just cleaning it up with some steel wool and a little bit of Mother's metal polish. So that's what it looks like now. This is what it looked like before. If you can see all the pits that are in this one. Maybe we'll do this one soon. But just wanted to clean it up and make it look a little more presentable. And I think it came out pretty good. So go ahead and put it on, and we'll get ready to finish this up. All right, hope you can see this okay. Sorry it's a little dark on this side, but we're going to fill up the rear final drive. We're going to use 220 milliliters of SEA 90. So we're going to go ahead and dump that in. This is the way I do it. I've had this piece made up to do on the BMWs and the Goldwing. So I just use it on this as well. It's just a long piece of hose with a funnel at the top. Just dump it in and let it just run down for a while. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'll be back in a minute. All right, so I had the final drive oil topped off. I don't know if you can see in this picture, but the oil is just coming up on the threads there. I just wiped the threads off and it's already starting to seep back over the threads. So we've got the proper amount of fluid in this. So now we're going to just put on the fill plug and tighten that down. All right, I got to find my, oh yeah, there it is. This is the wrench I used on it. I'm not going to go crazy on this. All right, so we're tightening this down. We're not going to go crazy on it. We're just going to get it tightened down pretty good and wipe off any excess oil. All right, so I think we are done. So what are my thoughts on this? I thought this wasn't a bad job. Wasn't very hard. It was a little intimidating at first when I first started looking at it and looking how to take the swing arm off. That looked a little intimidating because the way the book wasn't very clear, but then once I figured it out, it wasn't that hard. It takes a little bit of time. It took me more time because I was filming it and having to stop and start and stop and start. If you were doing it all in one shot and not having to stop very much, except maybe just to check the book out, you could probably do it in a couple hours once you get everything out of the way, like, just moving the cases, the muffler, things like that, and it's not really that difficult. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped, and please like, subscribe,